What's up, guys? Happy frickin' Wednesday. And welcome to another episode of Empowered Conversations, where I have amazing conversations with extraordinary people out doing beautiful things in the world in service to others. And that is the epitome of my guest today, James Proetz, Dr. James Proetz. James is a breakthrough transformational coach. His specialty is working with LGBTQ professionals who are unhappy with where they are in their careers, fearful of what the future holds, and stuck in relationships that are unfulfilling. Using a 3-step process of awareness, acceptance, and action, Dr. James moves people to feel happier, purpose-filled, and empowered. During this episode, you're also going to learn how to get his free 3 questions to ask yourself to see if breakthrough coaching is for you. Guys, help me in welcoming none other than Dr. James Proetz.
Yes!
What's up, James? How are you today?
I am so grateful to be here. Thank you so much, Stephanie, because I've enjoyed workshops that we've attended together and just listening to you and seeing, a close friend of mine was interviewed by you, Dr. Libby Adams.
Yes.
You bring such joy and energy to the world. It's like, it's so good to connect with people like that. I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And, for me, normally I'm the one doing the interviewing. So this is fun to be interviewed.
I was on your podcast. What was it? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, something along that line.
Yeah. And I was talking to a girlfriend about it this morning, and she's like, I haven't seen that. And it's like, I am interviewed on all these podcasts, and people are like, I don't know, I never saw that. I'm like, well, I shared it, so, but anyway. Well, today is all about you, James. Today is all about you. So, this is what I like to do. I like to go deep. I like to get real deep. And, the first question I always ask my guests is, Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And everybody has a story. Everybody has their journey.
Right.
So tell me, tell me about your life story, what epiphanies, revelations, life experiences, things that made you go ding, 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 ding. Ooh, I want to make this left instead of this right. Just what all transpired and brought forth what is creating and being created by you today and what you're out here and doing in service to others.
Well, thank you. I believe that everyone deep within, whether they're aware of it or not, has a real purpose in their life.
Yes.
And it can be very specific. However, that's more the vehicle of how it's going to play out. But I believe we all share this common thing of we want to share our gift with the world.
I have a question. Real quick, there's some noise. There's some music or something. It sounds like there's some music playing.
Oh.
Now I don't hear it.
Oh, I don't hear it either.
Okay, all right. I apologize. Keep going. Oh, God.
And one of your gifts is hearing music that's not there.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
But there's so many things that invisible realm.
Exactly.
That's there. And we get so hooked into just this visible. And it's like, wow, there is so much more. When I was really little, the first thing I can remember wanting to be is a doctor.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know about chiropractors because my journey took me through more natural healing. Mm-hmm. However, at that time, it was like, oh, I want to be a brain surgeon, and And I can remember asking to have an ambulance as a toy at Christmas. It's like, that's kind of bizarre.
So
But
what brought those thoughts? Like, was your parents or somebody you knew was a doctor, or where did that come from?
well, when I was very little, doctors made house calls, and all the doctors that I met, the pediatricians, they were all just wonderful people.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so I believe that's kind of what pulled me into it, is like they do these wonderful things for people. They're caring.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got older, I got more, as I started to see more things, I wanted to kind of be more expressive in what I did, not just so focused. So what I got into theater, studying theater in college. And it was such a joy to perform, to be in front of people, to help them shift, even if it's just momentary.
Yeah.
So I think that experience, and then realizing with chiropractic. So when I started to study chiropractic, it was like, wow, you're looking at how emotional, mental stresses, spiritual stresses create dis-ease.
Yes.
And I love breaking the word disease into dis-ease, because there is an ease, a flow to life, and it's about finding it. And we're not always in it. That's just part of it. So it's learning. So part of it is to learn tools to get back to it. And as I got more and more into chiropractic, I got into schools of chiropractic that looked at more the emotional, mental connections, and to do work in that. And of course, at the same time, I was battling with my own demons, which were alcohol, primarily alcohol, relationship addiction. But the primary one was alcohol. And that, when I first was confronted with it, it was like, wow. And but that's also, you shared with me before that you enjoyed a little video that I put out about my coming out story. So that's when I was really drunk. That's when I told my parents, because rather than face, this, sternness from my parents, like, why did you get drunk? What were you doing getting all effed up? I just go, oh, well, and what do we know? I'm gay.
Yeah.
I just thought that wasn't really the most gentle way to kind of bring it forward.
Right.
And they had no idea.
How long had you known? Had you been in relationships with women, or is it just something you realized, or how did that journey?
Because I didn't really know of being gay, because I was in high school back in the 60s, and the whole thing, that whole movement came with the hippie movement. And so it wasn't really until the early 70s that major things started to shift, that the Psychology Association, I'm not the right term, but they declassified being gay as a mental illness. Right. So it was like, but my parents were raised with that. My dad was in police work. I remember looking in one of his textbooks, and it was calling homosexuality a disease, a crime. Right. And it was like, so it wasn't something that my parents would like, oh, great, our son is gay. Because it was like, no, what do you do? So then it was about fixing me, and when I went to...
Right, as if you're broken.
Yes, as if I'm broken. But that was also where I kind of was struggling with, because the religions I grew up with, Christianity and some others that I looked at, that there wasn't a place for it. There was if you suppressed it. Right. If you didn't express it. And it was like, well, why the hell would I want to believe in a God that didn't love me for
Right.
just being who I am?
That
But that
was
took a lot
responsible
of,
for creating you,
yes,
but then
yes,
didn't love what he created. Oh,
right.
we could go round and round and round and round with that.
Yeah, so getting into 12-step groups, that's probably the, besides getting sober, right? The biggest gift I received was a God of my understanding. And it's like, clear to me that God or greater power or universe, I choose to use
Mhm.
universe
I as
now,
well.
is that it's love. That's what it's about.
Exactly.
Love,
Thank you.
you know?
Thank
And
you.
so to come from that, and that's where healing comes from. And that's where I
Mhm.
begin, as I started to understand that more and bring it into my life, to learn how to accept myself, to love myself more. It's a journey. It's a lifelong journey.
Yes, absolutely it is, until you're no longer on the earth.
Yeah, yeah. And I believe it'll probably just be this forever, because
Absolutely.
my experience is, as I learn of something and experience it, it's like it suddenly expands of how much more there is to learn. And it's like driving a car is like, oh my God, just pulling out into the street when you're first driving is like,
Yeah,
oh,
right, a big deal.
putting the blinker on, looking back, checking the mirror, it's like, and now it's like,
Try
how
do
many
that, like, with it did you drive an automatic or a stick? My first car I
I drew a
learned to drive
step.
in was a stick, yeah. I remember
Yes.
stalling out in the middle of an intersection. We were driving to my grandparents from Manio to Cameron was a 5.5 hour drive, and
Ah,
daddy let me drive. The whole family's in the car. My brother's in the back and my mama, my daddy in the front seat, and I remember
uh-huh,
getting to a stoplight and then stalling in the middle of the intersection because
oh,
the clutch and this is like 2.5 hours. I think this was in Williamson or somewhere.
uh-huh.
OMG. And daddy was, we were like,
I
ah,
know.
I
Everyone's
know.
screaming at you, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh my
And you're like, I was like,
God.
yeah, hilarious.
I know,
Hilarious.
the adrenaline rush. When you say that, I remember, because I grew up in Minnesota, so it was like driving in snow and ice. And that was
Oh,
like, people out here in California do not know, anything about that. Even to drive in the rain, people don't know the safe ways to drive. I remember though that we had. Remember when we had bench seats for the front seat? I don't know if you were. That was
yes. Well,
so we had,
my grandpa's truck. Uh-huh.
and it took two people to pull the seat forward or to push it back. It's like,
Yeah.
so it
Yeah.
was three across in front, three across in back, and this was before seat belts, and it
Uh-huh.
was almost like a blizzard, and I had to turn, with oncoming traffic coming, and started to slip. And we saw these cars coming, and everything suddenly is like slow motion, and we're all just screaming, screaming. And then when you get through, then there's this laughter. I mean, this
Mhm, mhm,
kind of
mhm.
catharsis
Yeah,
of like,
like,
oh my
oh,
God,
like,
I
oh,
just
thank
faced
you. Yeah.
my death.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So with that,
Mhm.
once I kind of got through that thing with my parents, but it was what I look at is, it is what it was.
Right.
I mean, it's like, it happened, can't take it back. And so then it was a process then for me of just like, well, it's out now,
Right.
so there was a relief
Relief and
with
freedom.
it,
Yes.
because I don't have to pretend.
Right.
And then it was, but what happened was I really went into this hedonistic way of being. It's like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, that whole thing, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then I got back, because it was like, the pendulum swung way over, and I started to get into personal development courses, the
Mhm.
inner child, doing all that stuff, which came out in the
Yeah.
80s. And then it was just to really learn how to live sober. And
Mhm.
for me, it was important because now I look at it because I had to get through the obsession with it. And that's with any type of addictive lifestyle.
Right.
People who don't have an addiction problem may not know that there's this compulsiveness, obsession about it. So even when you're not drinking, you're thinking about drinking. And
Right.
it was like, oh, but then I remember after being sober for a couple years, it was suddenly gone. And
Right.
you know, it was like, wow, it's like, so if the thought would come to my head, it's like, yeah, okay, no big deal. I didn't punish myself for thinking about it, nor would I hold on to it and kind of romanticize it and go, ooh, yeah, I can just go get blottoed and, just wake up tomorrow and do it all again.
And how grateful are you that you started that journey to personal growth and self-awareness as early as you did in your 20s, it sounds like?
Yeah, that's when the whole process started. And it didn't really come to completion where I really got all that stuff. I'm still growing. But
Of course.
until I was 50, it took that long of getting sober, going back out, getting sober, going back out. And which is a pretty common phenomena that people experience. It's the lucky ones that are able to, like when they're a teenager, get it and stay,
Right.
but it's like we all have our own path. It's not a
Absolutely.
judgment on anyone.
Exactly.
And I think that's why it's important. Yes, people can be coached by a lot of different people. However, my feel is there's a greater rapport and perhaps understanding because of one's experience. If there's that common experience, it allows. So what I look at is being gay, dealing with alcohol, also dealing with just the addiction to love and sex, that type of thing. It takes having gone through that and knowing what it's about. It's like quitting smoking. What helped me was teaching others to stop smoking, because I learned all these different tools.
Yep.
And it was like, wow. And that it really helped me. And I think what a lot of people do that get into like coaching, into self-help, self-help, but also healing
personal
arts,
growth. Right.
they're doing it for themselves.
Absolutely.
And then they can share it with others.
And through, because like just personally for me, I've been doing this since I was in my early 20s.
Right.
And what I've been able to do for myself through what I've learned and taught myself through the plethora of courses, books, you name it, and all the tools and tricks and tips that I've learned, that I've been able to overcome and persevere through, pull out the rug from under me experiences. So now I want to bring that gift of what I've been able to do for myself to others.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's like Siobhan and I talk about this a lot on food therapy. And, I was just talking about this with a girlfriend last night. It's not about being happy all the time. Nobody's going to be happy all the time. I don't care who you are.
Right.
But it's about living a joy-filled life. And, when I get up, like my antenna, everything, it's attuned to joy. Am I always in a state of joy? No. But I can say I absolutely have a joy-filled life, regardless of what I'm going through. And that's what I was saying with one of my girlfriends last night, is it has that same antenna. And again, I didn't just, here I am, this is how I am. It's been work. It's been something to be dedicated to, because that's what's important.
Right. And I know people that talk about living a happy life, living a joy-filled life, living a life of gratitude. You have to practice that.
Absolutely.
Because one of, in just all the reading and studying that I've done, it's to understand that as an animal, we are hardwired to look for negative things, like what could go wrong.
Oh God.
You know, and to realize there's probably not a lot that's going to go wrong, and if it does, we don't have control over it anyway. We have control over how we're going to respond. But it's like with friends of mine, I share with them, I go, it's, you may think you don't have any choice of how you're looking at life. However, what I'm going to suggest is, what if you look at it as a choice, the way you're looking in life? That means you can choose another way to look at life, and to be aware of how we speak to ourselves.
Yes.
Because when we say, you know, everybody's like that,
chills.
It's like, oh my.
Exactly.
Wow, you know, but the worst chatter, of course, is to ourselves. You know, it's like to hear ourselves say things like, I don't deserve it, or I'm not worthy, or, I mean, when I've heard people say, oh, I hate myself, and it's like, wow, that must hurt on a level that you're not necessarily aware of, but it doesn't make you feel good. It can, you know, I mean, how can that make you feel good?
Right.
So what, with my work, I got to where I want to help people shift those beliefs. And so it's easier with people who are already having success to just tweak their tools, and, you know, which is, and then you see rapid change. And then there are those folks who it's like, okay, I'm going to do this patiently. And perhaps it's just to be aware, that first step. So when you mentioned earlier about awareness, acceptance, and then action, you know, I was thinking, there's this little part to move that's in between acceptance and action. But first, the thing is, awareness simply means you're aware that these are your thoughts. You're aware of what you're saying. Then the acceptance part is, what is the truth?
Right.
You know, so it's
what
like,
do you believe is the truth?
Yes, absolutely. And then what do you have control over? You don't have control over your next door neighbor. You have control over your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. We know that, you know, all the experts, they tell us, but that is the truth. What I found is there's this little thing with that stage in acceptance of moving to the truth. We have our perceived truth. You know, it's, and that is, so it's alignment. I love using the A's, but it's alignment. You're getting aligned with kind of, what is the universe? What is God? What is greater power? What is the real truth? And sometimes we just don't know. We just don't know. So if we don't know, and we're gonna make something up, make it good.
Make it,
Make it good.
Act as if.
Yeah.
Do you know who Silva, the Dr. Silva method?
Yes. Yeah,
I
I'm
learned
not that
that
familiar.
in 2005, and it was a series of mind hacks, basically.
Got it.
So it's not about being fake and inauthentic, but it's about, I know I want this, and this is why I want it, so I'm going to act as though it's already in existence, because then that reprograms the subconscious mindset, that then reprograms the conscious mindset, that reprograms the behaviors that then create that reality. And, you know, I said this when I was speaking with you on your podcast, if anything is possible for anyone, anything is possible for anyone.
Yes.
But whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either way, you are right, and everything is mindset. And if you don't have the mindset to create what it is that you want, you know, or you have all these limiting beliefs that are blocking you from obtaining, you know, what you really, really true, like your heart's desire. I'm not talking about, oh, well, my mama and daddy said I'd be a good brain surgeon, or my teacher said that I would be a good hockey player, or maybe that isn't what you want. Maybe that's not the core You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah.
living your authentic life and knowing what you want and why you want it, not something from the outside, you know, that you think you should be doing because that sounds good or looks good.
Right. And some people aren't aware of that's how they're making their decisions.
Exactly. A
You know,
lot of people are making their decisions on what they think they should be doing rather than what they really want to be doing.
right. And that stuff can come up. We think we've mastered that. I'm right now at kind of in a transition and like leveling up what I'm doing, taking it to a bigger stage. And it's like there's a part of me
Mhm.
that's friggin' scared.
Of
And it's like,
course.
wants to say, well, if I don't do anything, I know I'll be okay. I mean, that's what I'm having to
Mhm.
battle that.
But settling for okay inhibits the possibility of fabulous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, but it's like that part's there. And
Mhm.
and I go, okay, and one cannot ignore it.
Mhm.
We need to bring that up to be aware. And then it's like, well, so my process is, and this is where you get into acceptance and alignment with the truth is, what is the truth?
Yeah.
Well, the truth is I can be whatever I choose to be. I can do whatever I choose to
Mhm.
do. So what is my action going to be?
Yeah.
To go forward.
Right.
And that action, it's like a muscle.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
have to exercise it.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
comfort thing is, it's almost like, well, you just sit on the couch. That's
Yeah.
comfortable, but
Right.
it's like
And watch
comfortable
something
for,
mindless.
yes, I know. And so with folks, to work with them, it's not for everyone, because I was in a workshop this last weekend, and I got to be on the hot seat. And it's like, but I love doing that because it's like, yeah,
I love your
hold.
laugh, by the way.
Thank you, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I do too.
I know.
And I love laughing. I've had friends where we would just call each other up and laugh, and it's like, and it's just we would feed off each other, and I mean dying. Your belly's hurting, and it's
Yes.
like, it feels so good. It's like a good cry.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just they're purging your body of all this stress, because laughter is not anything to do with whether it's funny or not. It's like laughter is simply a release
Yes.
of stress in the body. Now, it's it the thing to make people stop laughing, that I is like, well, to ask you, oh, what's so funny? And it's like, oh, then we have to go into this, oh, well, and then it just loses it. Like, well, I don't get the punchline. Explain it to
I'm
me.
one of those people, though, when somebody, because I'm going to be honest with you, laughing is my most favorite thing to do in the
Yes.
entire world. And when somebody said, I was like, I want to know because I want to be laughing too.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, like
Yes.
that's it's like almost the best feeling in the world is when it's like when you're just truly laughing because something has triggered such an emotional laugh. And I always say I'm screaming, clapping, that screaming, clapping, laughing, fall on the floor, knee slapping, hilarious.
Yes. Well,
I don't
and
hold that. Yeah.
and you know, I think it makes an intimate relationship even more intimate when you can giggle and laugh. I
Yeah.
mean, under the covers,
Yeah.
you can be
Yeah.
giggling. I mean, it's like, it's just like this. It's childlike. That's
Yeah.
how
Yes.
I feel with it.
Yeah, if you think about it, because when we're brought back to our, because and I know you've heard this, what you were excited and impassioned by and loved doing as a child is part of your purpose as an adult, and so that in essence is bringing you back to that state of what was so authentic. Because I mean, yeah, I know children, like you've got your bullying and you've got even little kids, I think, feel this subconscious, unconscious need to want to fit in, but it's like still there is this innocence and laughter as an adult. You're right. It's bringing you back to that ultimate vulnerable, authentic place. You just froze. Are you there? You just froze. Yeah, you're back. You're back. Can you hear me?
Yes, I mean,
Okay.
yeah. Yes, I can hear you. You're a little off sync for me. Okay, not certain what's going on.
Yeah, you froze. Are you hardwired into your modem, your internet modem?
No.
Okay.
But
So
I've got 5 bars on here. So, but anyway, so yes, you know what I go back to is, with the laughter, is that I can remember. Were you real ticklish as a kid? Or
oh
not?
God, girl, I just said, girl. I used to love. Okay, so I'm putting my arm up. My mama, like, I used to lay my head in her lap, and she would get her to tickle my arms, tickle my hands. But it's more of
Oh,
the soft caress. I I love my hair being played with. I love to be touched.
touched. Yeah.
And but as far as there's certain spots on me that are,
Yes.
but yeah.
I just remember my father he wouldn't actually tickle us, but he could get us in hysterical because he'd just start to go like this, towards our armpits. That's where we were on the sides of our chest. And he'd bring within inches, and we were laying on the floor laughing and at the same time going, stop, but we didn't want him to stop.
Right. Right.
And it's like, and I don't think it would have been as ticklish if he literally had been tickling us.
Yeah.
But it's like, but there's a real joy with that.
Absolutely.
Because you're so in the moment. But this is one of the things that I loved with chiropractic is because it's very kinesthetic. And our skin touch is the first integration of our central nervous system that a child goes through in development. And it's so important to be touched.
Yes.
And I remember that there was nothing more soothing than just laying on my mom's lap when you didn't feel good, and she would just like stroke your arm, stroke your head, and my mom had this rocking chair, and we would just that movement too, because I believe with NLP, neuro linguistic programming, primarily they focus on visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, and then gustatory and smell and taste. And so, but the ones that I think are not utilized that much, and I like to throw them into guided imagery when I'm working with people, is the whole thing with movement. Like moving through space, like flying, falling even, just, and it's because at the playground, I would run to the merry-go-round, I'd run to the swings, I'd run to the teeter-totters. Teeter-totters. And just that sensation of moving through space.
Yes, dancing. I have been obsessed with dancing since I was about 5 years old, and me and my girlfriends did this thing where we took our hands and we rocked them back and forth as we rocked our rock, steady, yitty, and I have always been obsessed with like music and dance. My favorite is EDM, doom, 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 doom.
Oh, because you feel it.
And I'm a very feeling type of person. I can tell you are as well. But yeah, like music moves me, and it's important. Like I can't stand country music, but I love bluegrass. And there's something like emotional and da-da-ding, 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 ding, 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 ding. But it's like, it's funny because when I was a little kid, I loved the song Elvira. But I never got into country music, and like country music is like really hugely popular. Everybody loves country music. I'm like, God, not me. Doom, 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 doom. Give me some of that.
Yeah, well, for me, growing up, when you were in Minnesota, it was Minneapolis and St. Paul, the Twin
Uh-huh.
Cities, and then everything else was the country. And
Yeah.
when we would go up north to visit folks, the only type of music when you'd go to a bar or a dance place was polka music.
Have you seen, I know you have, What the Bleep Do We Know?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
one of the best. Oh,
yes.
when they're at the wedding reception, like, let's do the polka. Na 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 na. Oh God, yeah, that's such a great
Yes.
movie or a great
Yeah.
documentary.
Oh, it
But
is. It's great
one of the best.
to watch it with someone and stop and pause and discuss
Yes,
it, because there are
done a
so many.
thousand times.
Yep, so many children. I think a powerful thing in that
Uh
when
huh.
they talk about how we get addicted to emotions, because it's the
Yes.
chemical release, and it suddenly made me realize in when I watched that I had this like epiphany about my family, because my dad was the rageaholic. He was the only one allowed to get angry, and he did it very well, very
Right.
masterfully. Um, so our option was to be afraid. So
Mhm.
so what I saw was
Oof.
that because we get hardwired to be afraid, there's a lot more receptor sites on the cells for fear. So we actually crave being afraid.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we
Yes.
make the choice to be afraid
And we.
when there's no reason to be. And so when you look out there at people walking around and you wonder why there's some that are shooting their guns at everyone because they're angry. That's
Mhm.
what they've gotten. I'm not saying it's right what they're doing. And
Right.
other people are so fearful, but it can get subverted into anger. Like what we saw January 6th with all of that anger, that fear that took place in our
Yes.
capital. It's like,
Yes.
but that wasn't the only place it was occurring. It's occurring throughout the US. And
Right.
it's not, the thing is, it's not being addressed.
And you know what, James? To that point, okay, so in What the Bleep Do You Know? You remember almost in the beginning when there's a question in a world of infinite, and everybody think about this, in a world of infinite possibilities, why do we track the same keep getting into the same
Yeah.
relationships, keep getting the same jobs, keep getting into the same situations? And it goes to exactly what you're talking about, that our antenna, which is that subconscious mind, which is those neural nets that are wiring together and firing together and have for
Yes.
such a long time, are attuned to attracting situations that mirror what we are used to having and existing in. And we don't know what we don't know. We don't know. We don't allow ourselves to be opened up to a different possibility because it's the comfort level, even if it's painful comfort level. And I'm sure you've read the book, the Celestine Prophecy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
when they're talking about the dramas, the interrogator, the dictator, the poor me, like the poor me victims typically attract narcissists. Okay. And a narcissist typically, so it's not like, like it's so easy to go, well, why don't you just leave the abusive asshole? But okay, so she leaves that abusive asshole, and 9 times out of 10, she's going to just attract another abusive asshole until she's rewired that neural net, which you just described, that
Right.
is causing her to attract based upon something, her antenna of what she's, or he, I mean, it could be anybody.
Yeah. Right.
But
Right. Right.
typically it's a male female, dynamic in that situation. Not to say it always is, but because there's plenty of female narcissists, I know a lot of them, and it's just
Right.
like, so what you're attracting is because of what you're emanating, and you don't even realize it. But you can rewire, you can reprogram the subconscious mind. It does take effort. It does take a
Right.
concerted effort, because at the end of the day, you are so worthy, so worthy of
Yes.
so much greater, of infinite possibilities of greatness, of thriving, of joy, of bliss, of ecstasy, of every word that could possibly describe something good. Every person on this planet is worthy of it.
Yes.
Period.
There was a book when I was just ending my chiropractic education, and it was called The Magical Child. And it's from the late 70s, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things they talked about in there is this, they talked about the whole potential of the human brain. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, if we just increased it just a bit, we would no longer have locks on our doors. You know, I mean, it's like, yeah, it doesn't take that much.
Right.
However, it's we have to start practicing it. Those who want to be a part of the change, to be a part of the solution, we have to be doing it not just in our lives, but to bring it to the rest. And
Mm-hmm.
we're just offering it as a gift.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't make a horse drink water.
Mm-hmm.
However, hopefully, if the horse will,
Right.
it's
You
like,
lead them there, and
yeah,
hopefully, but again, it is and it's like you said earlier, we're on a different journey, and there is no judgment.
right.
There is no judgment. What we're trying to say, guys, is holy, wait a minute. I've got comments over here.
Oh,
Oh my God, Siobhan's on. I'm just seeing comment. But it's about making that choice, realizing, but if we don't know what we don't know until we're made aware. And that's why I love having these conversations with people like yourself who have made that decision. It doesn't mean that your life is perfect or everything's always gone your way or you're just the happiest person on the planet. You, through your journey, have chosen, and you had those revelations, like most everybody that's been on my podcast, that I've interviewed thus far, and everybody I will be interviewing. And it's like, everything is a choice, but again, it's based on limiting beliefs, and we all have them. I have limiting beliefs. I mean, what you were saying earlier about, like sabotaging when things are like, when something really amazing, like I've got some amazing shit that's real, it's transpiring and manifesting in my life, but I've been working, I've been writing, I've been manifesting, I've been working to diligently bring this into my life, but yet that there's still that seed of, well, what if it doesn't? And it's weird how that's wired. But at least I catch myself,
right.
and I go, Stephanie, no, please don't do that. Don't bring that. Be aware, but don't bring that. Don't bring it because you know that you've worked so hard from the heart, from the deepest core of your heart, for this to be happening. And it is true and it is right. So, oh my God, we've got Siobhan over here. She says, hello, Funny and Dr. James. She says, alignment has been my favorite word. I watched Silva today. Yeah. She goes, speaking my language, the body doesn't know if you are fake laughing or real laughing. The feel-good chemicals are still released. So she does laughter yoga. She teaches and facilitates laughter yoga.
Love it.
She's my co-host for food therapy. Yes. Awesome. And she goes, you're both back now. Okay. So we're both freezing. So fan freaking tastic. Thank you so much for being here, Siobhan. And we've had a few viewers but people keep popping on and popping off. But thank you for your comments. So golly, Dr. James, it's like, it's funny how, and a lot of my podcast people, when we start talking about books, I've seen What the Bleep. I've read The Secret. I've watched The Secret, and like The Secret and, like What the Bleep really goes deep into the realm of what's possible based upon our consciousness.
Right.
And The Secret is, I think, a way of, on a remedial, more of a basic understanding of, okay, focus on the red bike and you can get the red bike, but it's not even about a red bike. It's about the feeling that riding that red bicycle gives. It's the feeling of what traveling to other countries. It's the feeling of being in a state of financial freedom and abundance and what that brings. So, and when you wake up and realize that everything is energy and it's about what I want to feel. And but again, asking yourself the basic questions, and you've been on that journey. I've been on that journey. I know Siobhan's been on that journey. And it doesn't matter if you started in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. If you're not dead, there's still a chance. You still have a chance to create your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the phrases like deliberate creators and that we're co-creators, because because we're all from the same source. It's like
Yes, we are.
we are all connected, and we
Coach
cannot
Gills.
not be connected. We cannot be disconnected,
Right.
because for just the law of physics is, if I observe you, there's a connection. The only way we could not be connected is if I had no awareness of you at all, but that's impossible.
Yeah.
And the fact with quantum physics is the observer influences the observed, and the observed influences the observer. It's like, but of course, if and what's even more empowering is when we bring that awareness. It's like, oh my God, if I just listen to you in silence, and just observe your energy, not have to even know the words, but just observe that and feel it, not just hear it, not just see it, but to feel it in my body. I was on a workshop call yesterday where the woman was an energy healer, is an energy healer.
Yeah.
And it was about hearing people with our bodies, experiencing them. So like when you're on a Zoom call, you can connect with and feel it. And the thing is, this is how I always look at it, is like, well, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm just going to go along with, yeah, what I'm experiencing is real.
Yes.
And so if suddenly I feel this, like, oh, my shoulder is a little uncomfortable, it's simply for me to bring awareness and go, what is my shoulder? What's my body wanting to tell me about this? Because it's my experience of you. It doesn't mean it's you.
Right.
You understand? But it's like, well, I'm experiencing this right now. So what's the message in it for me in this
Have you done
moment?
any EST training?
I know a lot of the training I've done, people have been trained in with EST. Yeah.
When you said something about my experience of you, I've done, legacy and gratitude. And one of it's not about like what is right or wrong, but and the way to open up dialogue with someone so you can, my experience of you is.
Yes. I did.
Yeah.
I went to this workshop. It was called Mastery Workshop. And it was for actors. And so what we did is every person got to stand up for a couple minutes and talk about themselves. And what we did was we took notes and we wrote our experience of them.
Yes.
But it was kind of like critiquing them and making judgments, blah, blah, blah. And then we handed our papers to everybody. And then we sat and read them. And it was like, oh my gosh, that's what people thought. Oh my God. And so when we were done reading, then the group trainer said, now go back and read them as if the person is talking about themselves. Because that's who they're talking about. The only thing that I can talk to about is from my own experience.
Yes.
So my experience of you is my experiences. It's not you. It is, but we believe that. I believe that my experience of you is who you are. That's not true.
Right.
It's my experience.
Right.
But that's like kind of, what?
And and that really does go along with, okay, so where you and I have probably share similar core values, mindset and heart set, around certain political things, okay, and things that we think are possible in the world, where others who are from a mindset of more conservative, more trance of scarcity, if you've read that book, lack, depravity, like, oh, they're going to take this from us. We're not going to have enough of this. which then creates the fear, which then calls those people to storm the Capitol in anger because they are in they have not their experience, their journey, their life experiences have taught them something different.
Right.
Which is why they have the mindset and the heart set that's different than say you or I. And that is where I will say, because I do have a lot of people on that are on of that different mindset and heart set, I cannot judge them because they do not see the world through my eyes, which is based upon my mindset and my heart set. That's why now, you know, what I'm saying is I can't judge, I cannot hate, I can't say you're wrong. Because if I do that, then I am being how it is I feel and my experience of them is. So I can only say, well, this is why I feel the way I feel. This is why I think the way I think, because this is my experience. Okay.
Right.
And I can't enforce my experience, even as much as I would love to. I can't enforce that mindset and heart set onto them. They have to have that on their own. They have to discover that on their own. They, you know, life is a journey. They have to, but what I can do is be talking about this, be sharing my heart, be putting myself out there to show what is possible. Because if I can think this way, you can too. It's a little bit, I will say it's a more of an expanded mindset, okay, or based upon an expanded experience. I've experienced a lot more in life. I've had a real full life, which again enables me to see, wow, anything is possible.
Yes.
So then I make choices based upon that. Anything is possible, but I can't expect someone else.
Right. And I know as a coach, you know, we cannot impose our stuff on someone else because it's like, that's the last thing I want to hear from someone is where they go, well, you told me to do this. Yeah. And it's like, no, you know, and if I did, you know, I mean, it's like, I don't want to be accused of that. It's like, so it's always for me, my approach is just ask questions. Just help you explore. Just let's explore this. Keep exploring. What else could it mean? I think that's a powerful question for any of us to ask ourselves. What else could this mean? You know, because why do we say this is it? This is all that this means. It's like, obviously not, because someone else has got another, you know, so it's
another point of view. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, so what would it be like from their point of view, which is helpful for me.
Right.
To understand how they got there, because in understanding how they got there, then you can go, oh, were you aware in order for you to get here, you had this belief? Now, is that belief, and I like to use the words resourceful as opposed to right or wrong. You know, is that resourceful for you?
That.
Yeah, because does that give you the most, is that enriching to you? Does that benefit, you know, on a higher level, does it benefit everyone?
Right.
You know, because,
Right. Does it benefit yeah.
And so when I look at people operating from fear, it's very
linear,
self-centered, and not big self, higher self. It's the little I, a little part.
The little I. I like that.
Yeah. And so, and how do you talk to that? It's like that. I always envision it like there's like the solar system, okay, and it's like there's the sun, the truth in the middle, and then there's all these little planets orbiting around, which are our beliefs. And on those planets, the problem is they don't rotate. And where the part of us that lives on those planets is the part that's not facing the sun. It faces out into the void, into the darkness. It has no awareness
Mm-hmm.
that there's any other planets, that there's any other way to see things, which it makes sense why it would just stay stuck there. You know, if that's what it
Yeah.
believes, it doesn't have anything else. So as a coach, or just as another human being asking questions,
Yep.
is simply like, what else could it mean? Or what would you have to believe in order to live on that little planet there, you know?
Right.
You
Have you
know?
ever heard of accessconsciousness.com? Access
No,
Consciousness?
no, no.
You must check it out.
Okay.
So there are these little, again, these little hacks, these little mind hacks,
Yes.
subliminal mind hacks. And one of it is when you're in any situation that may not be pleasing,
Right.
what else is possible? What else
Yes.
is possible? And the metaphor, the story metaphor is this girl was at the ticket counter to buy a plane ticket and they didn't have a ticket, something, something, something. She goes, you know, instead of, freaking out, like, she goes, what else is possible? And the lady was like, well, and they found something. But
Yeah.
and that's just a metaphor. It might not even be a true story. But the point is like, if you're in, regardless of what situation, like, what else is possible? And to ask the universe, put that question out there. What else is possible? What else is possible? What else is possible? Another a good one is whenever you're, because we're always, we're flooded with negative emotions, and you never know if that is yours or if it belongs somewhere else, or it's something
Yes.
that's you've picked up. And another little mind hack is whenever you're feeling something negative is who does that belong to?
Mm-hmm.
Send it back with consciousness attached.
Oh.
And oh my God, like anytime and I'm constantly like saying that, who does that belong to? Send it back with consciousness attached. Because
Right.
a lot of what we sometimes carry and dwell on or feel as a block or limiting, whatever, it doesn't even belong. But consciousness, send it back with consciousness attached. So in essence, you're healing that energetic cord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what came up to my mind was like with road rage. If people would just, if someone wants to cut in front of me, okay,
Yeah.
cut in front of me. I'll just back off and let you do it, because that's more important to you than it is to me.
Right.
What's important to me is to like kind of drive sanely and arrive safely, and
Right.
yeah, there's just a lot of good questions to ask ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a workshop that I have done in the past, conducted, and it was solely about the art of the question, knowing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, because for some basic, two really good questions is, one, what prevents you from having what you want? Because you're not staying in the problem. You're trying to begin solution,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, I'm unhappy, so what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you want to be happy. So what prevents you from being happy? And then what needs to happen? So it's jumping into that
Right.
action,
Yeah.
because the awareness is you're unhappy. The acceptance then is what's preventing, you're kind of going, oh, I've chosen to be unhappy, is the
Right.
the
Yes.
truth. When they get to that, then it's like, oh, I chose that. Well, then what else could I choose? And then how do I get to choosing that?
Mm-hmm.
And living in a more fulfilled and happy way. But it's questions, and to always be asking ourselves that. I'll tell you, it's like I forget that so quickly at times. I'll just be,
Yeah, of course,
I'll
me
get stuck.
too.
I'll get stuck in
Yeah.
and going, oh my God, why am I just focused on this?
Right. And sometimes there is a processing of that because like this past week, there's a lot of stuff that's been coming up and memories that have been surfacing and that I've been talking about that I haven't talked about in a long time. And sometimes it's a matter of further processing that, not about dwelling on it, not about like being stuck in that negative mindset of being, but like there's some more that needs to be processed. But it's about being aware of that. It's not about just whining and complaining.
Right.
It's about, okay, so what, there's some further processing. And there was something I was going to ask you. And what was it? I cannot remember, but again, guys, this is not about being happy all the time or not suffering or not going through heartbreaking, gut wrenching, pull out the rug from under me situations. This is about, like, at those most deep, dark, desperate times, there is still this way of pulling yourself through it in a quicker way that is healing whatever's happening,
Yeah.
and bringing you to that state. And it is about, like we said in the very beginning, it's not about being happy all the time, but it's about living a joyful life, because it's your birthright. If you're on this planet, if you're of this universe, it is your birthright to feel joy, to feel fulfilled. And to find that, and that is, as Dr. James is saying, it's about asking those questions.
Right.
Just asking yourself questions.
Yes.
Asking questions.
I know. It's kind of like with prayer. That's what popped in my head was prayer, and to see how, for me, the use of prayer has evolved. Because there were times when I would be in dark moments where I'd be going, "Oh, dear God, please, take this away from me." Mm-hmm. And I realized, yes, I mean, that is heard, but that doesn't mean God's not going to go, "Okay, boom, it's good." It's like, no, but what may happen is that a thought comes into my mind as to what I can do to change.
Right.
And so now what I'm looking at is the prayer is about having clarity. The prayer is about being more resourcewful. The prayer is about having more awareness, acceptance, so I can, even if it's just, I just want to be able to be calm through all this as I walk through it, or a little calmer than I am. So it's just, my whole belief system, because I read this research study that it was something along the lines, it was kind of, wow, eye-opening to me, but it's something like 95% of the world's population believe the same thing as an adult that they did when they were a child. So, like religion, even though you don't necessarily practice the religion,
right,
those beliefs are still in your head.
I see what you're, yep.
And I thought, oh my gosh, that's why when I shared with you that one of the greatest gifts the 12 steps gave me was I got my understanding. That was really scary, especially dealing with being gay, because the religions I had said no, and it's like, well, how can I mean, literally, there were times I'd wake up in the middle of the night feeling I was damned. There was nothing I could do, which kind of fed into just.
And that is so sick.
Yeah.
And that is so sad.
What the hell? I'm just gonna.
Meaning, but that was perpetuated upon you from an outside source based upon, and it's crazy how the Bible has been used throughout history.
Yeah.
Trey Crowder did this rant. Do you know who Trey Crowder is?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, he's hilarious. I love him. He is hilarious. And he did this rant, and I can't remember, I think it had something to do with LGBTQ, something, in that realm, maybe gays in the military was the subject. And he goes, here you're using, the Bible verses from, about this. Well, why don't you throw those verses on the trash heap like you did the ones about slavery and women being subservient to men?
Yes.
You know, what they use, you know, what, 1 Timothy 2 through, you know, verse 14, I do not usurp a woman to have authority over a man. She is to learn in silence in her churches. She is not to speak. She's to learn in silence. And if she has questions, to go home and ask her husband. Well, that verse and a lot of verses like that, where women are just very submissive, were used to fight, you know, women having rights 100 years ago.
Right.
You know, and then all these verses about condoning slaves and how to treat your slaves and beat your slaves and who goes free. I'm sorry, if there's anything with the word slavery in it, it should be a commandment. Thou shalt not obtain ownership over any other human being. There should not be any verses on teaching people how to, or slaves obey your earthly masters as you obey your God. What? So, but those verses were used, you know, by KKK and like all these religious organizations. Well, see, God ordained slavery, and now they're using it with gay people. Oh, well, it's an abomination.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how do you pick and choose? You know, and it's like the only, you know, I grew up Southern Baptist, so I'm right there with you.
Yeah, but you know, it allows me to have some empathy and compassion, because I realize, but I went through that struggle. Right. I was paralyzed with fear to think, God, am I really damned if I go and choose to live freely?
All loving, all good God would not create anyone that's damned.
Yeah. But I had to go through that.
Yeah.
I had to break through that. And so I just look at, that was a scary thing. And it's like, if you're in a group of people that are just shouting that doctrine over and over again, it's like, because I have had a number of female patients that were in their late 50s, early 60s. Their husband was retiring, and they started to get sick and have pains in their bodies.
Yes.
And they were unhappy, but they couldn't leave. I mean, they literally said, I can't leave him. And it's like,
right.
Okay. And I wasn't in like, yes, you can. You know, it's like, wow. So what? But I can ask questions like, so what are different ways to look at this? So you could, you know, just suggestions. But it's like, because I saw that for my mom, you know, with my dad. And it's like, wow, it's powerful. And people get sick, physically sick.
Yep.
You know?
Our physical,
And that they literally, you know, one of the ways I looked at, because my mom developed Alzheimer's, is that was a way out. Without, you know, I'm not making that judgment that's
no, I know what you mean. I know it.
But it was like, I looked at it on one level, like, wow, that was a way for her to not be fully responsible for saying, I don't want to be in this relationship, but she wasn't in the relationship because she was no longer there.
James, like, that is so profound. The mind does create the body. And if you suppress and suppress and suppress and suppress, it's going to, you know, mentally, it comes out oftentimes in physical sicknesses, ailments, malaise, disease.
Right. And how many people have worked and worked and worked all their life, then retired, and then dropped dead within a year?
Right.
Because no longer there's that purpose for, because their identity was tied into being productive. How they term being productive is,
with their job,
to provide. And now they no longer could provide. And so they were lost.
We were talking about that with a previous guest, Mike Hartman. Like, he was a pro NHL player back in the 90s, and he knows guys who've retired from NHL that wind up taking their lives.
Yeah,
you know, that people, and it's not just with that magnanimity of a type of career, but so many people, when they retire, like, they don't know how to live. They never learned how to live.
Right. Yeah, so. And we get to create it, though. I mean, that's the thing. That's when I talk to people, I go, well, you can create whatever you want, you know, but that's challenging, It takes a lot of energy. What I look at, though, is but the joy and the freedom in living that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have this one mentor who talks about, you want to reach the mountaintop, and it probably, when you're down in the valley, it looks so far away, and it looks like, oh my God, that would kill me. And what he says is that I'd rather die climbing the mountain than die staying down in the valley. And I thought, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I I've been saying that a lot lately, is I would rather die living than live dying.
Woo!
Than live dying. I know we've shared a lot. I don't know. I guess, back to the very initial part of our conversation and to what I was saying a while ago, it's like the only thing that's truly, like one of the only verses that's truly spiritual is do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and love thy neighbor as thyself.
Right.
And it's like, if we really did live like that, really, really would be heaven on earth. I mean, you know what I'm saying? We would,
Yes. Well, are you familiar with Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich?
I was just talking about that book today with my girlfriend. The Science of Getting Rich. It's this big, guys.
Yes, I know.
Tell them.
You can download it. You can download it for free. It's a free PDF. But his...
Ooh, hold on. I'm listening. Okay.
His modern golden rule is, what I wish for myself, I wish for everyone.
Yes.
So it's like, yes, because that is abundance mindset.
Oh, it's the epitome. It's probably the best self-help book ever, because it's talking about the core of your beliefs. Right. I have here it is. Nope. Here it is. OMG. Guys, this is one of the best books you will ever read in your life. It's like you could read it in 30 minutes. One of my favorites, where he says, okay, hold on. OMG, thank you for bringing this up. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, well, whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete and successful life unless one is rich. And one of my other favorite things he says is that, oh gosh, I used to quote it all the time, is that one cannot live a life of abundance if oh my God, it's one of the best, and I can't believe I'm drawing a blank because I was trying to tell my girlfriend about it this morning. One cannot live a life of abundance without access to the in essence, the financial means that create that freedom. So I'm oftentimes saying, I live in an infinite state of financial freedom. And again, people, but again, limiting beliefs, guys, around money. There's so many. Money don't grow on trees, in the money's the root of all evil. People, how many times do you hear this stuff that infiltrates negativity and nastiness around that which creates? Because without money, money can give you the power to go on vacations with your family. Money can be used for good, so much good. When you think of people that have money that are beautiful human beings, think of Oprah Winfrey, think of Tony Robbins. Those people live in an infinite state. Think of Chelsea Handler. Those people live in an infinite state of financial freedom, and they do good. I mean, there are plenty of poor people who are broke, that can be doing bad things, and it's about the mindset that money creates freedom. Money creates, I've got just, hold on, let me think about this. One cannot truly live a life, in that abundant state unless one has the means to create that for themselves. And, like paying your bills, but you're struggling struggle, that's not what God wants or what, what's humbling.
Right. Yes. Well, I know Suzanne Evans, who you're
Yes.
familiar with. One
Yes.
of
Oh,
the things she talks about is, are you making money out of desperation
right.
or, out of abundance mindset that, it's because if you're.
Uh-oh. What happened? He went off. Hold on, he might have accidentally. Hey guys, so sorry. Come back on via the link. He must have tapped something. Dr. James Proetz is coming back. But guys, I'm telling you right now, the science of getting rich is one of the best. Hey, I know, Siobhan, oops, that you could ever read. And it'll take you about half an hour. It'll literally take you about half an hour to read. And it literally is one of the best books about mindset and mindset creating reality. And he's coming back on. Will do. This is another phenomenal episode of Empowered. What's up, girl? You come on in. Yeah, my girlfriend's back from her walk. Empowered Conversations. I got Dr. James coming back. Hell yeah. Oh, and hell yeah is how we met. Dr. James and I met through one of Suzanne's group. Take the stage. And there was hell yeah and you bet. We would all like be up in the camera, woo. So here he is. He's back. There he is.
Yay!
Yay!
I know my screen went like, oh, my screensaver's on. What happened?
So you were saying.
Yes, so when we come from desperation, it's going to be a struggle. And that's the energy we're sending out to the universe that, oh, make it hard for me to get this, and that it's like but you need to hear about it because we may not, as you've mentioned, we grew up with a lot of beliefs around money.
Yes.
I know from my parents, they went through the Depression. My mom lived in a converted barn. That's what she grew up in. So they were very poor. And so my dad he used orange crates for bookshelves. And then finally as they started making more money and all, it's like, no, we can have stuff. He still liked making things by hand, but we had decent stuff. But it's like they were still you've got to hold on to things. And so it was very challenging when both my older brother, when he was alive, and myself, we both chose to be in our own business, and it's like my dad was really proud that we did, but he didn't understand the risks we took. It's like, why would you, risk all that to have that? And it's like, well, that's why. Because we want something more. We want something that is
absolutely
greater value to us.
Right. And creates that, that freedom. At the end of the day, everything's got that freedom. So this is another phenomenal book. Have you ever read The Trance of Scarcity?
No, I haven't. You mentioned it earlier, and it's like, oh no, I haven't heard that one.
And it's about how most people are in that trance of thinking that everything is there's not enough. And like lavish versus stingy. This is just an insurmountable book of value that I highly recommend reading. The Trance of Scarcity, and as well, The Science of Getting Rich.
Yes.
And guys, this has been an absolutely incredibly empowered conversation. Thank you so much for being on.
You're welcome. When you said that lavish, I just thought, if you're in the scarcity mindset, you would say, oh, you're being wasteful.
Right.
Whereas someone else would go, how generous you are.
Yeah.
It's like the other person would go, how wasteful. You got, and it's like, yeah, so coming from a place like, oh, that's so wasteful, that doesn't sound fun.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't sound joyful.
And it creates the trance of scarcity.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that book.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you shared a book of The Magical Child.
Yes.
The Magical Child. You said it was written in the 70s?
Yes, I believe so, in the 70s.
Yeah, that's something I also want to check out. Well, guys, this has been, thank you so much. It's been such an honor to have you here today. And when you get that link, because you said that you were creating a link for that.
For the PDF. Yes.
Send it to me. I'll post it as comments. And this has been such a wonderful conversation. Guys, tomorrow, Siobhan and I on Food Therapy are making my Asian-inspired deviled eggs. Yum, yum, yum.
Ooh.
Tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 12:30 your time, because she's in Vancouver.
Oh,
so
awesome.
Yeah.
One of my favorite cities, Vancouver.
I know. Really, I've never been there. I'm dying to go, and I will be going there. Yeah. James, like I said, it's been such an honor to have you here. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who was here to join. Check out all the things that we've suggested, guys. Thank you again for being a part of Empowered Conversations.
Yes.
So you stay right here real quick. Don't leave. Don't accidentally get out. Bye, guys. Bye. Yeah, Siobhan says, yum, can't wait. Vancouver's beautiful. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Bye, everybody.